All right, Shalom. First, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. Um, Real quick, I'm gonna go into this lesson. All right. Just I was meditating. All right, upon certain things. All right, and really going into, us as Israelites. Okay, and the spirit that the Lord has put within us. Okay, to excel at everything. Okay, and I'm gonna go into a couple of different examples. All right, of Israelites. All right, or Jakes. Who even in captivity. All right, were in high positions. All right. You see, because you had Israel go into captivity, but even within that time, the Lord had mercy on certain Israelites. Okay, certain Israelites stood out. All right, and us being Israel, okay, that spirit within us, the Lord oftentimes gave some of us favor in the sight of these rulers. Okay, and in turn, you had Jake in certain high offices. All right, so not all Israelites were just slave men and getting their backs whooped and all of that. All right, even an example being Moses. The Lord had mercy on him for that great purpose he had to go serve. The Lord had it to where he wasn't born, all right, as a slave. He was raised up, as a prince. Okay, and he was taught. When you read up on it, it tells you he was taught in all the knowledge of the Egyptians, man. And the Egyptians at the time were a superpower, so they had the best education system. All right, they learned about the stars and all of that. They learned geometry. All right, okay, they learned about because in order to make calculations for the river, all right, was it the Nile River that goes through their land? Because every year or every other year, the tides would rise higher, so they have to make calculations for that and know how to divide the land and how to structure their buildings, okay, or their to have the most produce during the agricultural season. So they were very knowledgeable in science, all right, and a lot of different things. Nonetheless, I'm gonna get this. This is Matthew chapter 5, verse 13. Ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt have lost his flavor or his savor, wherewith shall it be salted? All right. And what is salt used for? Salt is used to give taste, all right, or to give more taste to the food that you're making. Okay. The number one thing that people, let's say, make a dish, if it doesn't have salt, people will complain, man. Like, yo, this joint tastes mad plain, yo. It has no salt, so that salt gives it that taste, okay, and makes it taste better. Just like Jake, in different societies, different empires, different kingdoms, we made that kingdom better. We were the salt that propelled that society, man. Whether we were advisors, all right, counselors, or put in whatever position we were put in, whether we were even slaves on the bottom, all right. You look at society today, you have these athletes, okay, these musicians, these cooks, these chefs, everything that brings business and traffic to keep America going is Jake behind it. Even majority of these inventions, all right, you have Israelites that came up with that. All right. So it says, it is thenceforth good for nothing but to be cast out and to be trodden underfoot of men. All right. Nonetheless, moving on, we're gonna start with Tobit, because notice in the title I put about the cupbearer, the purveyor, the president. All right. And so Tobit, all right, in his day and age, as I'm gonna read it. Okay, I'm gonna start at verse 1, and I'll jump throughout just to hit the main points. So this is Tobit chapter 1, verse 1. It says the book of the words of Tobit, and the book of Tobit is a good book, man. All right, I definitely recommend us to read that. Just read the whole book, man. It's very, very faith boosting. And it also has a lot of historical content in it. All right. So it says the book of the word of Tobit, the son of Tobiel, the son of Ananiel, the son of Aduel, the son of Gabiel, of the seed of Asael, of the tribe of Naphtali, who in the time of Enemessar king of the Assyrians, was led captive out of Tishbe, which is at the right hand of that city, which is called properly Naphtali in Galilee above Asher. All right, now Ammonessor is the Greek transliteration of Shalmaneser. Okay, so don't think it can get confusing at times, but that's just what it is. Now, as a matter of fact, let's get the proof on that. Let's just type in, and just to show you the historical accuracy of the scriptures, Shalmaneser's name is mentioned in the Bible, and he's an actual historical character. Okay, let's see. Assyria. Let's just put Assyria. Okay, and the things that the scriptures mention as to what the Assyrians did, guess what? When you look in history, is there. All right. Okay. All right, Shalmaneser. Oh, okay, one S. Shall do this. Bear with me. Okay, let's do okay. It says 2 Kings 18:9, and it came to pass in the 4th year of King Hezekiah, which was king of Judah, which was the 7th year of Hoshea, son of Elah, king of Israel, that Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, came up against Samaria and besieged it. Okay, when it should be placed somewhere along, just for historical reference, right around the 710 BC, around that area, the 700s BC. You can look it up, because Shalmaneser, this is talking about Shalmaneser the fifth. All right, so he was around 745 to 727. Okay, or Salakia 727 to 722. So around that same time period, and when you look it up, it'll tell you that this guy actually lived, and the acts that he did. When you read about his campaigns, it links up with what we're reading about here in Kings and in the book of Tobit. So it says that Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, came up against Samaria and besieged it. Okay, and once again, this is Shalmaneser the fifth. It says, and at the end of 3 years, they took it, even in the 6th year of Hezekiah. That is the 9th year of Hoshea, king of Israel, Samaria was taken. And the king of Assyria did carry away Israel into Assyria, and put them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes. All right. And so he took Israel, all right, deported them out of their land, and took them into, like it says, Halah, Habor, and the cities of the Medes. And Tobit was one of those who was led captive, okay, from the land of Israel to that the land of the Medes, all right, and the places we just read. So we're gonna read it right here. Tobit chapter 1 verse 2. It says, who in the time of Ammonessor or Shalmaneser, king of the Assyrians, was led captive out of Tishbe, which is at the right hand of that city, which is called properly Naphtali in Galilee above Asher. I, Tobit, have walked all the days of my life in the ways of truth and justice, and I did many alms deeds to my brethren and my nation who came with me to Nineveh into the land of the Assyrians. All right. Now, Tobit, when you read it, he was a righteous man, because even because when you read it, the northern kingdom were doing a lot of wickedness, man, a lot of idolatry, idol worship, all that wickedness. But yet, even amongst them, you still had certain, not all of them were going off. You still had certain Israelites, Tobit being an example, who remained faithful and kept their faith and trust in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, and they didn't do that idol worship. Okay. It says, and when I was in my own country in the land of Israel, being but young, all the tribe of Naphtali, my father, fell from the house of Jerusalem, which was chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, that all the tribes should sacrifice there, where the temple of the habitation of the Most High was consecrated and built for all ages. Now all the tribes which together revolted, and the house of my father Naphtali sacrificed unto the heifer Baal. See, so because you had a lot of idol worship. All right, it was with really the whole nation, but mainly the northern kingdom. Okay, king after king after king. It says, but I alone went often to Jerusalem at the feasts, as it was ordained unto all the people of Israel by an everlasting decree. And guess what? An example being the feast of first fruits. Okay. When you read in Acts, the second chapter, the reason you had all those Israelites come to Jerusalem, okay, from Cappadocia and Phrygia and Elam and all these different locations, was what? It was during the time of the day of Pentecost. Okay. And that was also one of the decrees, that they were supposed to come there to keep it there. Okay. But you had wicked Israelites that were like, nah, we're not gonna go to Jerusalem. We're not doing all that. We're just gonna keep doing our idol worship here. It says, having the first fruits and the tenth of increase with that which was first shorn, and gave them, and them gave I at the altar to the priests and the children, the children of Aaron. So you had them keeping the feast of first fruits in the time of Tobit. This is in the Old Testament and even in the New Testament. So that's a quick cut for those saying, "Oh, the law, and the New Testament, and this and that." Hey, even in the New Testament, they were keeping, because it says here it was an everlasting decree, man. All right, these holy days the Lord set up, we were supposed to keep for all generations. But let me jump down. All right, verse 9. Furthermore, when I was come to the age of a man, I married Anna of mine own kindred, and of her I begat Tobias. And when we were carried away captives to Nineveh, all my brethren and those that were of my kindred did eat of the bread of the Gentiles. All right, because now you're being moved from your land, where the customs, you know what you're supposed to eat and stuff, but now you're being moved to a land of Gentiles. Just like if you were to go to China or Japan, they'd be eating some strange foods. They might be eating some fried cat, some rat feet, all these different things, and it's a delicacy for them. Frogs, scorpions, worms, maggots, just to list a few examples. And in my octopus, squid, it's just regular. There was a show on CNN. What was it called? I forget the name, but the host of it died. But he was going around different and Anthony something parts unknown. You can look it up. He was going around different parts of the world, eating different foods, tasting different foods from different areas, and you notice how each area had its different cultural food, and they eat different things. See, so they ate the bread of the Gentiles. They ate the foods that were there. All right, the foods that the people that were living in Nineveh, all right, or in Assyria ate. Obviously, in Nineveh, they weren't considerate of eating lawful foods, because that they weren't keeping the laws over there. They were heathens, So being that you had Jake transported over there, they were eating whatever the heathens over there were eating. But I kept myself from eating, because I remembered the Most High with all my heart. And example being in the time of the Maccabees, when they were forcing Jake to eat pork, you had certain of them that said no. There was an old man that said, "Yo, I'm not gonna eat this pork," and they said, "Look, just eat something else, and let's just say it's pork. Let's make it look like you ate the pork." He said, "No, I'm not even gonna do that." It's verse 13. And the Most High gave me grace and favor before Enemessar or Shalmaneser, so that I was his purveyor. Okay, now let's look up purveyor. It says purveyor, someone who supplies what is needed, especially food. in the historical sense, an officer who provided provisions for the king's household. Okay, so that position, yeah, it sounds like, oh, this, then that, but that position was a very high position. So Tobit being in that position was a rich man. He had a lot of bread. Okay, you providing produce and food for the king's household. Hell yeah, you're gonna get paid hella bread. All right. So it says, and I went into Media. Whoa, like we read in Second Kings, where was one of the places they were taken? Second Kings 18 and 11. And the king of Assyria did carry away Israel onto Assyria and put them and Nineveh was a capital of Assyria. So that's why we read in Tobit about Nineveh. And put them in Halah and in Habor by the river Gozan and in the cities of the Medes. All right. So it says here, now check this out. And I went into Media and left in trust with Gabiel, the brother of Gabrias, at Rages, a city of Media, 10 talents of silver. And I'm gonna go into it and show you how much that is, man. That's a whole lot of money. Okay, 10 talents of silver is worth a lot. All right, but first let's deal with this. It says he was a purveyor, right? When you look it up, I read it. It was one who provides provisions for the king's household. Let's see how much bread Toby was getting paid. All right, it wasn't no $25 an hour. All right, or 15 minimum wage, $15 an hour. No. All right, he was getting that bread, man. Just type in let me see, talents, measurements. All right, talent measurement. It says, when used as a measure of money, it refers to a talent weight of gold or of silver. The gold talent is reported as weighing roughly the same as a person, and so perhaps 50 kilograms or 110 pounds. Ivor Dupois. Some authorities say that the talent typically weighed about 33 kilograms or 75 pounds. Okay, for one talent of silver weighs 75 pounds. Okay, or the weight of a person. This man said he went and left. Put this into perspective. He went and left 10 talents of silver, all right, with Gabiel. So it wasn't like that's all the money he had. He had enough to where this was like sort of like his savings, like a reserve. He went and left this much with Gabiel. How much bread was this guy getting paid? You got brothers out here struggling paycheck to paycheck. Yo, Toby was doing good, man, because that's why the scriptures say the Lord gave him grace and favor before Shalmaneser. All right, so he was up there, man. All right, because in certain kingdoms, to even get close to the king is a big deal, let alone be the king's purveyor. All right, because once what they did was they wouldn't just kill you. If once they took you captive, they wouldn't just kill you just to kill you. They were smarter than that. They said, look, if I can use this guy to help better my kingdom, why not? I'm not just gonna put all of them in the fields as slaves. No, if this guy has good talents, all right, he's a good translator, or he's a good whatever he can, blacksmith. Okay, I'm gonna put him in a good high position because I can use him. My army needs armor, and all of that. So guess what? I need somebody to make that. So I'm gonna put him in that high position, and he's gonna have that rank. You see? So they used wisdom. They said, look, man, I could use this guy, I'd get more from this Israelite by using him than just to kill him. Okay. So that's the measurement of a talent of silver. Now imagine that, 10 talents of silver. Now, quick precept for that. This is 2 Kings 5:23. Now, this is dealing with Elisha and his understudy or his servant. When Elisha had healed the Syrian guy, and the Syrian guy tried to give him gifts, and he said, nah, take your gifts, we don't want it. Elisha's servant, basically, he ran after the Syrian guy out of greed. He's like, yo, yeah, my master changed his mind, blah, blah, blah. We're going to take the gifts after all, because he wanted it. So let's read this. It says, and Naaman said, be content, take 2 talents. All right. Now that's roughly about what, 75 pounds, 75 to 100 pounds times two. And he urged him and bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags. And that's how you know it's a lot, because you needed bags. And it wasn't them little plastic bags, man. You look at, you gotta like picture them big bags, them bags you gotta like tie up, and really hold like that. Because silver is a metal, and metal weighs. Metal is heavy. It says, with 2 changes of garments, and laid them upon 2 of his servants, and they bear them before him. See, so he laid them on them servants were Elisha's servant wasn't going to be carrying 2 talents of silver by himself and take it back. That's why he had help. He had Naaman's 2 servants had to carry it, and it's like it tells you, verse 24. And when he came to the tower, he took them from their hand and bestowed them in the house, and they let the men go, and they departed, because them joints were heavy. All right. I'm gonna read a little bit more on the talents. It says, Let me see. It says the heavy common talent used in the New Testament times was 58.9 kilograms, or 130 pounds for a talent. The a Roman weight in ancient times is equivalent to 100 libra. A libra is exactly 3/4 of an Attic weight mina. So a Roman talent is 1.33 Attic talents, and hence approximately 32.3 kilograms, or 71 pounds. So it's roughly around that range. Nonetheless, Tobit was rich enough to be able to leave 10 talents of silver, all right, or entrusted with Gabio. And that's how, when you read, it says he sent Tobias to go get that money. Because Tobit was rich for a while, but verse 15, now when Emanesseh or Shalmaneser was dead, Sennacherib his son reigned in his stead, whose estate was troubled, that I could not go into Media. Okay, so basically, Sennacherib didn't like Tobit like that. He didn't like him. Tobit didn't gain favor in Sennacherib's fate in his sight. So he lost that position. He lost that position. Nonetheless, he had to flee, and that's how you end up with that whole situation where he sends his son to go get that money, so they don't end up being poor. And that's how Tobit was able to give so many alms. You see. So moving on. So we've dealt with Tobit, the purveyor. Okay. Slakia. Hey, shalom, Makim, shalom to those on the comment board. But we're just gonna continue real quick. So moving on to Daniel. All right, Daniel. So we dealt with the purveyor, and now we're dealing with Daniel, who was made what, a president. Okay, a whole president. This is Daniel chapter 6, verse 1. It says, it pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom, and over these 3 presidents. So you had 120 princes, all right, and then you had above them 3 presidents, which would be under the king, all right, or the ruler. It says, of whom Daniel was first, that the princes might give accounts unto them, and the king should have no damage. So Daniel was the one that they would all report to. The Lord gave him favor in the sight of Darius, to where he was set up high above them all, because he had a lot of wisdom. So once again, like I said, instead of just killing him or just pushing him to the side because he was an Israelite, they said, no, this dude is smart. This dude has wisdom. I need somebody like this. He can give me great advice. A lot of great kings had great advisors, man, to make wise decisions and wise decrees to keep their kingdom flourishing, to come up with new agricultural ways, new inventions to keep the kingdom flowing, to make life easier, to make production more, to make things more efficient. They needed good advisors. You needed architects, okay? You needed carpenters. You needed people to build things, and people to lay the blueprint. All right. And like I read in the beginning, Israel being the salt of the whole earth, we're best at it all. You might be sitting there, you might have a couple heathens sitting there looking for a way to do something, and you got Jacob come in and look at it, He might examine it maybe a minute or two and be like, yo, why don't you do it this way? Put this here, do this here, do this here. Next thing you know, he running the whole thing. Everybody's scratching their head like, yo, damn, I didn't even think of that. Yo, that's not a bad idea. Oh, yo, that's what's up. You see? Verse 3. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. All right? Because what? He was an Israelite, man. Only an Israelite can. That's why the Lord put Daniel in such a high state, man. Okay? It says he had an excellent spirit within him. All right, to where the king wanted to just put him up above everybody, man. Okay, and when you read in the 5th chapter, which I'm gonna go back to, what's his name? Belshazzar actually, I'm gonna read it, but let's finish here, verse 4. Then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find none occasion nor fault, for as much as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him. You see, because they got jealous, man. Imagine that. They're like, why the hell we know what I'm saying? We might be of this, we're the natives of this land, but you got this dude and they put him above everybody else. And, they get envious, they got jealous. But what made it worse was that they couldn't find any occasion to frame him, any occasion to use against him. Because the Lord guided his steps, all right, to speak correctly and to move correctly. Okay, and verse 5, it says, then said these men, we shall not find any occasion against Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God. Because they said, look, that is the only way we're gonna get this guy, man. We gotta come up with some crafty way to because we know the reason he's able to do this is because he got his power on his side. So we have to make it in a way where he can't do that. We have to give him an ultimatum. Either it's his God or it's his position. And guess what? Yeah, they came up with they thought about something. They came up with a mischievous device. But at the end of the day, the Most High delivered Daniel out of it anyway. You know why? Because Daniel didn't forsake the Most High. All right. Now, like I said, I was going to go back. This is Daniel, the 5th chapter. I'll start at verse 1 and jump down. It says, Belshazzar the king made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords and drank wine before the 1,000. Now, Belshazzar, okay, right now, this time period is during the Babylonian captivity or the Babylonian Empire. What I read in Tobit was during the Assyrian Empire, okay? The Assyrian Empire fell to the Babylonians and the Medes, but, we're focusing on the Babylonian Empire because they were the ones who, under Nebuchadnezzar II, they besieged Jerusalem, broke it down, took them captives, and Daniel was one of those captives. Okay, so when you go all the way down, almost at the ending reign of the Babylonian Empire, you had Belshazzar. Now it says he was a king, but when you look into the secular history, he was really a king regent. He was put in that position because his father Nabonidus was the actual king. Now this is relevant because when I read down on that verse, it'll make sense as to why the scripture said that. So Belshazzar was the son of the king, but in the king's absence, he was put in that place to rule in the stead of the king, right? So it says Belshazzar the king, or the king regent, made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords and drank wine before the 1,000. So we understand that Belshazzar is basically the main ruler at this time right now, in the absence of his father. So we're gonna jump down. Actually, you know what? Let's read through it. Verse 2. Belshazzar, whilst he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple, which was in Jerusalem. Remember, because Nebuchadnezzar II, he was the one under his rule. They besieged Jerusalem. They destroyed the walls and all of that. All right. It says that the king and his princes, his wives and his concubines might drink therein. So he's drinking, you know, and they having a good time and all of that. And so they're like, yo, go bring them gold cups, them gold vessels that we got from the Israelites, and let's use that, man. You know, it says, then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of the Most High, which was at Jerusalem. And the king and his princes, his wives and his concubines drank in them. All right. And they basically polluted it because they were heathens. The things concerning the temple was really for the priests to handle. Like certain things even just regular Israelites couldn't do. Like when we read in Tobit said he took his arms and gave it to the priests, the children of Aaron, because they were the ones who would do the sacrifices and burn incense and all of that. If you try to do that and you weren't certain things you couldn't even do unless you were a high priest, unless you were from that direct line, because the Lord was very specific about what he wanted. You had the king Uzziah. He was a king of Judah, and he tried to burn incense, all right, in the temple. He got overzealous and he tried to burn incense in the temple, and the Most High cursed him with leprosy. You know why? Because he was the king. He wasn't a priest. So it wasn't his job. And they told him when he went in the temple, yo, you can't be in here. You can't burn incense on the altar because that's our job. That's not for you to do. You see? So certain things only the priests were supposed to handle. Now here it is. You got these heathens out here drinking, eating whatever foods they were eating and drinking wine out of the golden vessels of the house of the Most High, man. It says they drank wine and praised the gods of gold and of silver, of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone. So not only were they putting their dirty ass heathenistic lips on the golden vessels of the Lord, they then turned around and praised some false gods on top of that. So let's see what happened. In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. So he's drinking, they're having a good time. And then, you probably peep from your peripheral and you turn around, you're like, oh shit. And he sees what? A hand, just a hand writing on the wall. It says, then the king's countenance was changed and his thoughts troubled him. Countenance meaning your face. So he went from laughing to now like being shook up, being scared. Like, what the hell? So that the joints of his loins were loose and his knees smote one against another. And that's how quick the Lord turned that mirth into fear, man. Okay. And the king cried aloud to bring the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. And the king spake and said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing and show me the interpretation thereof shall be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about his neck and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Okay, so he got shook, man. He saw the writing on the wall. He's like, look, get me the magicians, them interpreters, them astrologers, get me all of them and have them come break this down, man. All right. Because it was like, like imagine that you just seen a hand writing on the wall. So he was scared. It says, then came in all the king's wise men, but they could not read the writing, nor make known to the king the interpretation thereof. And then was King Belshazzar greatly troubled, and his countenance was changed in him, and his lords were astonied or astonished. All right. Now, you have the queen comes in. She tells him about Daniel. All right. And let's go there because we're going to get to that point. Okay. Verse Daniel 5:24. So Daniel now breaks it down. All right. To Belshazzar. So it says, then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the writing that was written. Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Mene, the Most High hath numbered that. Now, it wasn't that Belshazzar didn't know how to read the writing, because it was in the Chaldean tongue. He knew what the words meant. Like he knew why I know what mini is. I know what tekel is. I know what ufarsin is. Those are weights and measures. Okay. But he didn't understand why they were written there. What does it mean? You know? So imagine that you in the crib, you chilling, whatever, and you see a handwriting on the wall writing like values, like it'll write like quarter, dollar, or dime, or nickel. You know what a nickel is, you know what a dime is, you know what a quarter is, but you don't understand what does that mean. Why the hell am I seeing quarter, dime, quarter, nickel, 50 cents? You know, like what the hell does that mean? So that's why this says what? Daniel says what the writing is, and it says, this is the interpretation of the thing. Many, the Most High had numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tickle, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. See, because when you look it up, for example, let's look up Perez. Right, it says here, to break in two, to divide, half mina, half shekel, a unit of measure and weight. See, so those were weights, you know, sort of like if he saw 50 cents, right? And Daniel's like, you know, quarter, all right, quarter, the Lord measured your you know, your kingdom and is broken. Quarter, your or dime, your weight in the balance and are found wanting. 50 cents, your kingdom is divided, you know, and give it to the Medes and the Persians, because 50 cents is what, half of a dollar, you know. So just in that, Daniel was just explaining to him what it meant. Right now, here's the key point. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet and put a chain of gold about his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. In that night was Belshazzar the king of the Chaldeans slain, and Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. So now what I just read here was during the time of the Babylonian Empire. And then when I read before about Daniel being made the top of the presidents, that was during the time of the Medo-Persian rule. All right, because as we read, it was Darius at the time. Darius was a Median. Okay. But we're talking about the Babylonians. So Daniel was put in a high position, not only in the Babylonian Empire, because during the time in the Book of Nebuchadnezzar, he was still in a high position. All right. And then now in the time of Belshazzar, it says what? He made him the third ruler in the kingdom. You know, so the third in command. Now, why did it say he was the third in command? Because Belshazzar was the second in command. He was the second ruler. And his father, Nabonidus, the actual true king, okay, was the first. But like I explained before, Nabonidus, in his absence, he had left. All right. He went to go rebuild temples for his favorite god. He had left the province, and he left it with his son in charge. So his son, being that second in charge, after Daniel broke it down, he said, look, I'm going to give you the highest position, all right, that they can be under me. And that's going to be what? The third ruler in the kingdom. You know, so that's a very high position that Daniel was put in, man. Okay. So, you know, we read about these different captivities, man, but yo, there were certain men that the Lord had mercy on. All right. And he put them in them top spots, man. All right. Which was a wise play on these heathens' part. All right. Now I'm going to get this last one. So we've dealt with what? The purveyor, the president, and now we're going to deal with the cupbearer. Okay. And cupbearer, man, is different now than it was back then. Okay, don't just think a cupbearer, oh, you just my servant, whatever. No, a cupbearer was put in a high position, man. Somebody that was well reverenced, okay, in the ancient times. All right. So I'm gonna read this. This is Nehemiah chapter 1, verse 11. Oh Lord, I beseech thee, let not. So just a quick clarification. Nehemiah is also in the Medo-Persian rule. All right. Now you have the Persians ruling. So this is during the Persian or the Medo-Persian captivity, basically. You know, when Israel was still under there. During the same time when you had, you know, you had Esther and all of that, you had the Persians ruling at that time. All right. So Nehemiah is a little bit after that. But let's read it. So Nehemiah 1 and 11. O Lord, I beseech thee, let now thine ear be attentive to the prayer of thy servant and to the prayer of thy servants who desire to fear thy name and prosper. I pray thee, thy servant, this day, and grant him mercy in the sight of this man, which was the king, for I was the king's cupbearer. Okay, so Nehemiah was the king's cupbearer. Now we're gonna look it up and show you that that wasn't just an ordinary position. All right, a cupbearer was somebody that was in high esteem, man. All right, let's go to the dictionaries. All right, let's look up cupbearer. All right, in the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia, it says cupbearer, an officer of high rank at ancient Oriental courts, whose duty it was to serve the wine at the king's table. On account of the constant fear of plots and intrigues, a person must be regarded as thoroughly trustworthy to hold this position. So in order for to be a king's cupbearer, you had to be trusted by the king. The king had to trust you. All right. It says he must guard against poison in the king's cup and was sometimes required to swallow some of the wine before serving it. His confidential relations with the king often endeared him to his sovereign and also gave him a position of great influence. This office is first mentioned in scripture in Genesis 40:1, where the Hebrew word elsewhere translated cupbearer is rendered butler. All right. So Nehemiah being the cupbearer, it put him in a high position. All right. It gave him a lot of leeway and wiggle room. All right. And it gave him a lot of influence, man. The king trusted him. So he was in a high position and he had favor in the sight of the king. So you had Nehemiah was in a higher position than even some of those Persians. All right. Just like Daniel was in a higher position than the Chaldeans, and Tobit was in a higher position than some of those Assyrians. Okay, even though these were Israelites. It says the phrase chief of butlers, according with the fact that there were often a number of such officials under one as chief. Nehemiah, compare Nehemiah 1:11. Nehemiah was cupbearer to Artaxerxes Longimanus, and he was held in high esteem by him. Now I believe this was the son of Xerxes, all right, or Ahasuerus, the husband of Esther. It says was held in high esteem by him, as the record shows. His financial ability would indicate that the office was a lucrative one. Now, let's look up the word lucrative. It says producing a great deal of profit, right? So Nehemiah's job as a cupbearer, all right, is more than it sounds, man. He was making a whole lot of money, decent, good money, okay? He was living good because the king was like, look, you're of importance to me, so I'm going to take care of you. I'm not just going to have you out there. No. You are important to me. So I'm going to take care of you. I trust you. And in essence, my life is entrusted in your hands because you're the one who has to make sure that whatever I'm drinking, whatever wine it is good. Because if the king's cupbearer turns or flips on the king, he can easily poison the king, because he's very close to the king, right? It says indicate that the office was a lucrative one. Cupbearers are mentioned further in 1 Kings 10:5, 2 Chronicles 9:4, where they, among other evidences of royal splendor, are stated to have impressed the Queen of Sheba with Solomon's glory. The title Rabshakeh in Isaiah 36:2, once thought to mean chief of the cupbearers, is now given a different derivation, an explanation as chief of the officers or princes. Okay, so hey, Nehemiah, man, he was in a good position. That's why, and he was a governor. That's why I see when he asked the king for permission to go to Jerusalem to go help rebuild. The king, though the king was sad because what? He liked Nehemiah, but he still gave him permission to go because he was in good favor with him. You know, he wrote letters to them. He said, because remember, when these empires were ruling, they had control over other places they had conquered, because those places became what? Satraps or provinces. So the king was like, yo, when he gets over here, let him pass. He's cool. I gave him permission to go. Whatever you need cows, sheep, cattle, money, whatever. I got you. So, yo, man, not just because you read and Israel was in captivity here, Israel was in captivity here. Yeah, for the most part, you had Israel, at the bottom, building up the heathens' kingdoms. But you also had Israelites that were living good, Israelites that were pretty well off, because those were the ones the Lord had mercy on. Okay, you have even in this kingdom, man. I forgot what movie it was. I don't want to say 7 Years a Slave or something like that, but you had one of them Israelites who was they didn't have him as a plantation Israelite who was picking cotton, because I think he knew how to play the piano or something like that. So he was actually a little better off. He could wear nice clothes. He could buy things. He could have his own house and all of that. So hey, in that, because what the Lord blessed us with that spirit, okay, to excel at whatever we do. All right, and anybody with common knowledge, all right, even among these heathens, they'll see that and they'll be like, look, I could use this to my benefit. All right, so I'm gonna use it instead of letting it go to waste, man. All right, but yeah, that was pretty much it. Okay, just a quick little lesson going into it. All right, as to how the Lord has blessed us. And look, even if you had Israelites being able to Fiddler, Kunta Kinte. Okay, right. That was also one of the slave movies. Yeah. What's it called? But yeah, even if in these captivities, all right, the Lord had Israelites being able to move in such high ranks. Imagine how much we're gonna be in the kingdom. You see, because what Esau has done, real quick, there's a book called Behold a Pale Horse. It tells you that these Edomites have deliberately said, look, Khan, Yasharala YG. It was 12 years a slave. Yeah, I believe it was that one, because I remember the main character's face. All right. But Esau has deliberately set it up to where Israel, all right, or Jakes have the poorest and lowest form of education, to where even if you have exceptionally smart Israelites, the chances of you making it somewhere high is going to be very low because of the quality of education they give you. That's why they make these public schools free, and all these different things they give you, financial aid and all that, because they know what you're learning isn't something that's going to get you anywhere. But even with that, Israel, Jake takes that and makes the best of it. So in these different captivities, we had a glass ceiling over our head, but we still managed to get to the top to where our head touched that glass ceiling, man. So imagine what it's going to be like in the kingdom when the Lord said, what? Right now we know in part, we prophesy in part. All right. We're not in our full estate. So imagine that when the Lord gives us the full, complete understanding, the knowledge, the resources, the ability, how much more are we going to excel? And that's why the kingdom of heaven is going to be the greatest kingdom ever. Because imagine the kind of things we're going to be inventing, innovation. You look at the things that Esau has now, and sometimes you be like, yo, damn, that technology is crazy. How did they do that? But how much more for us? We're going to be using, because the Esau is the basis of men, and the earth is in the basest form. So the resources they use are in the smallest form, man. But we're going to unlock technological, spiritual things on a whole nother level. Okay. The Lord is going to turn it up all the way, man. These chains of darkness are going to be broken off, and we're going to be on a whole nother level, man. The kingdom of Israel, or the kingdom of heaven, is going to be unlike any other. And that's why we're going to need to live forever. That's why it's going to be an eternal kingdom, because the things we're going to be doing, You like it's gonna just keep on advancing and evolving and advancing and advancing and advancing. All right, and it's gonna be so great that it just has to be forever. Okay, we're never gonna stop. We're never gonna slow down. It's just gonna be a man, and that's why we're gonna look. That's why the Lord said, "What in my Father's house are many mansions." All right, we're gonna be so great. We're gonna. That's why the Lord created these planets and these galaxies and all of that. Okay, we're gonna populate all of them. And don't look, man. Don't worry about it. The Lord said, "What? He stretcheth the heavens like a curtain." Oh, you don't have enough space? How much more you need? Okay. So just you wait, man. Just you wait. John said so. John said what? He saw a new heaven and a new earth. Okay. The way of living, the way of life is gonna be completely different, man. It's gonna be revamped to a whole nother level. Okay. That is something to look forward to. All right. But hey, man, I'm gonna end it here. Okay, Lord willing, this was edifying unto the elect. Hey, look, we're very, 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 very close to that time, man. All right, literally, you're literally seeing these prophecies come to pass. The world is transitioning, all right, into that night, man, into that chaos breaking loose all around the world. Literally, turn on the news, man. This place, the Iranians, what they burnt down the central bank over there. Okay, you have people going wild in Hong Kong. Literally, the whole world is in turmoil. But you know what? It hasn't hit America yet. We're hearing it everywhere else but America. You know why? Because once it hits this place, it's gonna be the end all be all. Okay, and it's gonna happen like the scriptures say, like a woman in travail, and they shall not escape. All right. Once America's water breaks, this place is through. And we're going to be happy and we're going to praise Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, because once this place goes down, look, man, that kingdom is going to come right up. Okay. It's going to come right up, man. Just as Esau's going out, Jacob is coming in. Okay. So, hey, that's something to look forward to, man. Saying to stay in the spirit, keep on learning, remain, Salakia, keep the faith. Okay. Remain in the spirit, man, and just keep pushing. Okay, the Most High is definitely speeding up these days, man. Okay, and Lord's will, man, it won't be long before we get out of this captivity. All right, and we finally get our rest, man. As Paul said, for here we have no continuing city, but we seek one to come. Okay, but I'm gonna read this precept the brother put in the chat. This is Yasharala YG, Romans 13 and 11, and that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. That's right, man. Our salvation is nearer than when we believed. So now's our time to show Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai that we want to get out of here. You know, now is the fourth quarter, so you got to go all out. You in the finals, it's the fourth quarter. This is double overtime. All right. You either win the match, win the championship, or you don't. Okay. And over here, we don't got plan Bs, man. It's plan A, and plan A it is, man. So with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rachah Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.